नमस्कार। प्रातः काल की प्रफुल्लित, प्रसन्नचित एवं प्रकाशमान ऊर्जा में परमाणु खनिज अन्वेषण एवं अनुसंधान निदेशालय की ओर से मैं संगीता भगत इस उद्घाटन समारोह में उपस्थित आप सभी मेहमानों का हार्दिक स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन करती हूं। आप सबकी गरिमामयी उपस्थिति अत्यधिक महत्वपूर्ण है क्योंकि आज हम एक ऐतिहासिक दिन का जश्न मनाने के लिए एकत्र हुए हैं। 1947 में स्वतंत्रता उपरांत जब भारत एक नवजात, स्वतंत्र, लोकतांत्रिक गणराज्य के रूप में चलना सीख रहा था, तब आज ही के दिन यानी 29 जुलाई 1949 में परमाणु खनिज अन्वेषण एवं अनुसंधान निदेशालय की स्थापना हुई और आज हम उसकी 75वीं वर्षगांठ के साक्षी हैं। पुनः हम सबको इसकी हार्दिक बधाई। यह एक अविस्मरणीय अवसर है जब हमारे बीच उपस्थित हैं आज के समारोह के मुख्य अतिथि, हमारे अपने परम आदरणीय डॉक्टर अजीत कुमार मोहंती, सचिव भारत सरकार परमाणु ऊर्जा विभाग एवं अध्यक्ष परमाणु ऊर्जा आयोग। महोदय, आपका हृदय की गहराइयों से हार्दिक स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन करते हैं। हम स्वागत करते हैं आज के समारोह के विशिष्ट अतिथि के रूप में विराजमान डॉक्टर कोमल कपूर, अध्यक्ष एवं मुख्य कार्यपालक एनएफसी। आज हमारे बीच उपस्थित होना था श्री अनुराग कुमार, अध्यक्ष एवं प्रबंध निदेशक ईसीआई, बट कुछ एक इमरजेंसी आ गई इसलिए वो आज हमारे बीच नहीं है, पर हम चाहते हैं कि आप तालियों के साथ उनको जरूर अभिनंदन हम करेंगे। तथा आज के विशेष अतिथि डॉक्टर के द्विवेदी, परमाणु खनिज निदेशालय के पूर्व निदेशक, आप सभी का अभिनंदन। होमी भाभा प्रेक्षागृह में पधारे आमंत्रित अतिथि भी हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं। उसमें हैं डॉक्टर एलपी सिंह सर, डीवाईडीजी एंड हेड जीएसआई स्टेट यूनिट तेलंगाना सदर्न रीजन। डॉक्टर सुकांत रॉय, डायरेक्टर बोरहोल जियोफिजिक्स एनजीआरआई। प्रोफेसर एम कृष्णमूर्ति, एडिशनल डायरेक्टर टीआईएफआर, एवं श्री बी सर्वनन, हमारे निदेशालय के पूर्व निदेशक। हमारे आदरणीय निदेशक महोदय श्री धीरज पांडे, अपर निदेशक प्रचालन 2 डॉक्टर प्रखर कुमार, अपर निदेशक अनुसंधान एवं विकास श्री प्रेम कुमार शर्मा, डॉक्टर के आनंद राव, हेड मिनरल प्रोसेसिंग डिवीजन, सभी वर्गों के प्रधान, प्रभारी, वरिष्ठ अधिकारीगण, एएमडी दक्षिण मध्य क्षेत्र हैदराबाद से पधारे वैज्ञानिक यहाँ पर उपस्थित हैं और हमारे इंटरनेट के माध्यम से भी हमारा एक पूरा एएमडी परिवार हमसे जुड़ा हुआ है। उसमें खासतौर पे मैं नाम लेना चाहती हूँ डॉक्टर संतोष कुमार सतपथी, चेयरमैन एंड मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर यूसीआईएल। देवियों और सज्जनों, आप सभी को पुनः प्रणाम, अभिनंदन एवं स्वागत है परमाणु खनिज अन्वेषण एवं अनुसंधान निदेशालय के स्थापना दिवस की हीरक जयंती समारोह में। परंपरा अनुसार आज के समारोह का प्रारंभ, आगाज हम अपने आराध्य उस दिव्य शक्ति के आशीर्वाद को आत्मसात करके करेंगे। उसके लिए मैं मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूं श्रीमती सुचिता सुरेंद्र को।
शारदी जय हंस वाहिनी, जयति वीणा वादिनी। शारदी जय हंस वाहिनी, जयति वीणा वादिनी जय सरस्वती ज्ञानदायिनी जय सरस्वती ज्ञानदायिनी कमलहंस विराजिनी शारदे जय हंस वाहिनी जयति वीणा वादिनी रिद्धि सिद्धि विवेकदायिनी तुम त्रिशूल विनाशिनी रिद्धि सिद्धि विवेकदायिनी तुम त्रिशूल विनाशिनी देवी मंद सुहास वर्धिनी देवी मंद सुहास वर्धिनी हृदय हंस विराजिनी शारदे जय हंस वाहिनी जयति वीणा वादिनी जयति वीणा वादिनी जयति वीणा वादिनी। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद सुचिता सरस्वती वंदना के लिए। हम अपनी हीरक जयंती मना रहे हैं और परमाणु खनिज निदेशालय का 75 वर्षों का सफर आसान तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं रहा है। बहुत कुछ हमने देखा है और उससे सीखा है। परमाणु खनिजों के अन्वेषण एवं अनुसंधान में हमने एक मुकाम हासिल किया है और इस यात्रा का एक सुंदर अवलोकन या यूं कहूं तो एक सिंहावलोकन तथा हमारे अतिथियों के स्वागत हेतु आमंत्रित करती हूं हमारे निदेशालय के निदेशक श्री धीरज पांडे को।
Namaskar and good morning to all. Ladies and gentlemen, today on the momentous occasion of the Diamond Jubilee, that is the 75th anniversary of the Foundation Day of Atomic Minerals Directorate for Exploration and Research, AMD, I greet you all with great pride and enthusiasm. Thank you all for joining us on this special day. Honorable Chief Guest of the Diamond Jubilee celebrations of AMD, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty Sir, Chairman Atomic Energy Commission and Secretary Department of Atomic Energy, eminent guests of honor Dr. Komal Kapoor, Chairman and Chief Executive Nuclear Fuel Complex, NFC, Shri Anurag Kumar, although he is not here, but we can feel his virtual presence, Chairman and Managing Director Electronic Corporation of India Limited, ECIL, distinguished special guest Dr. K.K. Dwivedi, former Director Atomic Minerals Directorate for Exploration and Research, and of course, we were expecting Shri Rupan Singh, Managing Director, GMDC, Gujarat Mineral Development Corporation Limited. He is also not here. Shri L.P. Singh, Deputy Director General and HOD, Southern Region Geological Survey of India. Dr. S.K. Satpathy, Chairman and Managing Director, Uranium Corporation of India Limited, who is joining us online from our AMD Eastern Region, Jamshedpur. Shri B. Saravanan Sir, former Director, AMD. Dr. Krishnamurthy, from TIFR Hyderabad, and Dr. Sukanta Roy from Borehole Geophysics Research Laboratory, Ministry of Earth Sciences. Special invitees, former officers and staff members of AMD family, my dear colleagues Dr. Prakhar Kumar and Shri P.K. Sharma, Additional Directors AMD, Regional Directors, Group Heads in charges, Shri S.S. Prasad Rao, Chief Administrative and Accounts Officer AMD, Shri D. Ramakrishna, Deputy Controller for Accounts AMD, Shri Dennis John D'Souza, Chief Security Officer AMD, all other officers and staff from exploration, analytical, and allied groups of AMD, including administration, accounts, security, and drivers, and my dear friends who are present here and those present in the cyberspace. I share with you my immense pleasure and excitement as I stand here witnessing this glorious event celebrating the 75-year Odyssey of AMD and extend a hearty welcome to each one of you. Today, we are honored and grateful to our outstanding leader, Dr. Mohanty sir, a nuclear physicist par excellence, for his gracious presence at AMD Hyderabad. Sir, words fail me as I try to thank you for your immediate acceptance of our invitation for today's event. It is indeed very difficult for me to articulate the elation and the motivation experienced by the entire AMD family today merely by your presence. So we eagerly look forward to your encouraging and inspirational words. And on behalf of AMD and personally too, I extend a very warm welcome to you at AMD Hyderabad. I express my deep gratitude to Dr. Komal Kapoor for his kind presence and support. A hearty welcome to you, sir. Your presence adds a special warmth to our gathering and makes this event even more memorable. Your participation in this celebration is a testament to the significant role AMD has played in the advancement of India's nuclear power program. A special welcome goes out to Dr. K.K. Dwivedi, sir, whose support and dedication to our directorate have been nothing short of remarkable. Ladies and gentlemen, most of you may be aware that AMD has diversified its activities in the last decade and in recent years has made significant achievements in proving deposits of rare earth elements and critical elements like lithium in hard rocks for the first time in the country. Our sustained exploration in parts of Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Karnataka for critical elements have put the country in the world map of these resources, apart from the fact that we have continuously augmented the uranium-thorium inventory, which has crossed 4 lakh ton uranium and 1 billion ton of beach and mineral resources, respectively, this year. In the same line, although Dr. Shri Rupan Singh ji is not present with us today, but GMDC Limited has recently been nominated as a prospective lessee for mining of Ambardogar RE deposit in Gujarat, and his presence here today would have been a great motivator for us. However, his continued support to us is a testimony to our close collaboration in making India Atmanirbhar in critical minerals. We welcome you, sir, virtually with joy and look forward to making our partnership stronger in the coming years. The recent launch of National Geoscience Data Repository, that is NGDR, by the Ministry of Mines through the Geological Survey of India is going to prove a game changer in the mineral industry of our country. Kudos to the efforts of our inspiring leader, Dr. Mohanty sir. DAE AMD have now given access to the voluminous data accrued by AMD over the last 7.5 decades to all the stakeholders registered in the NGDR portal. In this context, the close interaction of AMD with GSI is evident by the presence of our distinguished invitee, Shri LP Singh, who has been supporting AMD in formulating data protocols and facilitating the uploading of data in the NGDR portal. We are extremely grateful to you, sir, for your glorious presence this morning at AMD Hyderabad. It is also our good fortune that we have amidst today an eminent scientist of international repute, Dr. Sukanta Roy. Also, we are thankful to Dr. Krishnamurthy, Director TIFR Hyderabad, for his esteemed presence. Sir, both your presence here has added glitter to the occasion. I also welcome on this occasion our former Director, Shri B. Sarvanan, for taking time out to be with us on this day. As we reflect on the journey of past 75 years, we acknowledge the tireless efforts and dedication of every individual who has been a member of Team AMD. Your contributions have been pivotal in our mission of self-reliant India. I would also like to acknowledge the incredible effort of event organizers and volunteers. Without your tireless work, today's celebration would not have been possible. Your commitment to excellence is what brings us closer and makes events like these a resounding success. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are gathered here not just to celebrate, but to reaffirm our commitment to DAE and nation building. Through this morning's activities, speeches and performances, we hope to shed light on the impact of our collective efforts and the continuing need for support. As we move through the day, I encourage you all to engage with one another, share stories, and enjoy the array of performances we have lined up for you. Let this day be a testament to the strength and unity of AMD as we work together towards a brighter and more promising future. Before I conclude, let me remind you to cherish these moments of joy, celebrate our achievements, and look forward to the new opportunities that lie ahead. Thank you once again for being here. I hope you have a wonderful time and leave AMD Hyderabad feeling inspired and uplifted. Yes to the 75 glorious years of AMD and to many more years of pioneering excellence and dedicated service to the nation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we formally invite our distinguished guests onto the dais, I thought it would be prudent to present before you and this illustrious gathering an overview of the AMD saga, or in other words, 75 years of exploration odyssey of AMD. I know it is a very difficult task to condense this historic and eventful journey within a short span of, say, 15-20 minutes. Nevertheless, I will try my best to narrate the historical perspective behind the creation of AMD and later look upon some of the milestone events. Can I have the presentation, please? So this is a short presentation entitled The AMD Saga, 75 Years of Exploration Odyssey. So our story begins somewhere in the 19th century, and before I move on to the story, there are certain dramatis personae in this play which has emerged in the last, say, 7.5 decades of AMD's existence. One of the dramatis personae in this storyline are some German scientists, namely Breithout and Schoenberg, whose role you'll see later in this story. Another dramatis personae is the monazite mineral. Third is the Diwan Bahadur of Travancore, now known as Kerala. Another dramatis personae is Glenn T. Seaborg, Nobelist of 1951 for discovery of 10 trans-uranium elements, and of course Dr. Bhabha. So ये कहानी हमारी 1829 में शुरू होती है जब one German mineralogist and professor, Johann Friedrich August Breithout, he identified monazite mineral for the first time. Now, monazite, as you know, is basically a mineral, phosphate mineral containing rare earths, lighter rare earths, thorium, and some amount of uranium. And subsequently, in 1909, one German prospector and chemist by the name of C.W. Schoenberg, he discovered that the beach sands of Travancore, they were rich in monazite. Now, the Travancore at that time, it was a princely state under the British. And वहाँ से जो coir था, जो coconut fibers थे, they were exported to the European countries and North America. So on the shores of Germany, Schoenberg, somehow he noticed some yellowish green particles in the sands which were sticking onto the coir, the coconut fibers. Out of curiosity, he analyzed them and he identified them as monazite. So if you see the map of Travancore, between this Quilon and Nagarcoil, the entire beach sand was rich in monazite. That is how Schoenberg identified that these beach sands were rich in monazite mineral. Then at that time, the major use of monazite was in the gas mantles. जो मेरी उम्र के लोग हैं शायद उन्होंने पेट्रोमैक्स गैस स्लाइड देखी होगी, उसमें गैस मैंटल यूज हुआ करता था. और द गैस मैंटल बेसिकली इट वाज अ फैब्रिक, उसमें देवर जो एक 90% लगभग थोरियम नाइट्रेट जो प्रोसेस किया जाता था मोनाजाइट्स, दैट वाज यूज्ड एज एन इनकैंडेसेंट मटेरियल. व्हेन इट यूज्ड टू बर्न, इट यूज्ड टू थ्रो इनकैंडेसेंट लाइट. And one Austrian chemist, Felsbach, incidentally, he was a student of Robert Bunsen. I think we are much familiar with Bunsen's name because we have been using the Bunsen burner in our college days. So he invented this gas mantle lamp. So subsequently, the use of monazite at that time was used as a incandescent lighting material in those Petromax gas lamps. In 1910, after Schoenberg discovered monazite, 1 year later, that is from 1909, he came to Travancore and he established the first monazite separation plant at Manavalkuruchi, which is now in Tamil Nadu. Earlier that was part of Travancore, and later at Chavra in Kerala. Now, as you know, both Manavalkuruchi and Chavra today are one of the richest monazite deposits of the country. The first mining lease for monazite was granted to a British company called London Cosmopolitan Mining, and by 1911, two British companies, one Travancore Minerals Company, which was a subsidiary of London Cosmopolitan Mining, and Hopkin and Williams Limited. They were into mining of Travancore sands. And Schaumburg became a local agent for the Travancore Minerals Company. Soon, the World War I began in 1914, and in 1916, Schaumburg was arrested by the British as a German spy. The British came to know that a German company, Orgesellschaft, it owned majority of shares, almost 2,000 shares at that time in this Travancore Mineral Company, and that the monazite sand which was mined by TMC, instead of going to the British Empire, it was diverted to Germany by TMC for processing of thorium nitrate. That time, the thorium nitrate industry in Germany, it had a monopoly of processing monazite. So the British gas mantle industry soon realized that it was paying almost 9 times the price than their German counterpart for these monazite sands of Travancore. Geopolitical repercussions ensued, and soon London cancelled all the German contracts of TMC, and henceforth their board of directors were all from British origin. As the time passed, gradually the production of monazite kept increasing. And post-World War I, the market of monazite suddenly crashed, because by that time the electric bulbs had come into commercial business, and those outmaneuvered the gas lamps. Now in the interwar years, one US company, Lindsley Light and Company, was also granted a mining lease for monazite in Travancore. Subsequently, within, say, next 3 or 4 years, there were some circumstances that built up in such a way which influenced the the atomic energy scenario of the world, as well as that in India. In 1937, one Sir C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer, he was a well-learned person, a good, statesman and administrator, and one of the well-known lawyers of Madras Presidency at that time. He was working with Lord Wellington, the then Viceroy of India. He was appointed as the Diwan of Travancore by Lord Wellington, the Viceroy. And soon the Maharani and the Prince of Travancore, they became a pawn in his hands. And he advocated a very strong right of Travancore to remain independent of India once the independence was granted to India. At the same time, in 1939, Dr. Bhabha was in India. He was preparing to go out again, but the World War began and he had to stay back. And he joined the Indian Institute of Science, Dr. C.V. Raman. Then, during the later years of the war, when the Manhattan Project was in full swing, the significance of thorium as a potential nuclear fuel was recognized. Glenn T. Seaberg, in his Chicago laboratory, along with his team, he was researching on thorium. And he soon realized that the fertile thorium isotope 232 could be converted by neutron capture into fissile uranium-233. So once this realization came, and overnight the monazite-rich sands of Travancore, they metamorphosed from lucrative commodities into strategic minerals. Sir CP was also not left behind. He could see the importance of thorium as a strategic metal. And during World War II, Travancore had already embargoed the export of monazite at the behest of the British so that it did not fall into the hands of the Germans. But post-World War II, he extended that embargo to coerce US and Britain to set up a monazite processing plant in Travancore. He used this as a bargaining deal. Then during the World War, there was suddenly a high demand for beryl, a beryllium mineral. It was realized by the Allied forces that when they were parachuting, the airdrops were being done across the enemy lines, behind the enemy lines rather. The ammunition boxes and the armed ammunition that were parachuted into the enemy, behind the enemy lines, the parachute straps, the buckles used to break because of the weight. And all things, those ammunitions were lost because they fell down with a great velocity. So soon it was realized that beryllium copper alloys strengthened this material that was used to manufacture those buckles. So suddenly there was a realization that beryl should be explored. So at the same time, the British government of India, they appointed Dr. D.N. Wadia as the geological advisor to the British government of India. And he set up the first rare mineral survey unit, that is RMSU in GSI, to explore primarily beryl. So here you can see Dr. Wadia. and he is there with the staff of Berry Beryl Mine in Udaipur. And subsequently, on 15th May 1946, there was a proposal by the Board for Atomic Energy Research in CSIR, which was chaired at that time by Dr. Bhabha, for acquisition of monazite from Travancore. Probably it was this moment of time that Bhabha also realized the importance of thorium, and he envisaged this three-stage nuclear power program of India. And in January 1947, the Indian Science Congress adopted a special resolution on the state ownership and control of these minerals, which were necessary for the production of atomic energy. Subsequently, in the same month, there was a news item published in the Australian newspaper Kalgoorlie Miner. The news article went like that. It highlighted the fact that Travancore has the largest deposits of thorium and Britain to get a share of vital atomic bomb metal. The news article further went on to say that the Travancore government announces that the British government is assisting in securing the cooperation of a British firm whose technical knowledge is essential for the production of thorium, a vital metal in atomic bomb construction. The British firm is collaborating in the establishment in Travancore of a processing factory for monazite. Arrangements are contemplated to include the export to Britain for a limited period of certain quantities of surplus monazite. Somehow this news article did not come to the notice of the Indian authorities, and it was left to an expose by K.N. Bamzai, a journalist in the Blitz, the popular Bombay News Weekly at that time. In a series of articles, he went on to publicize the fact that Travancore was in clandestine negotiations with the British government for exporting about 9,000 tons of monazite to Britain over the next 3 years in return for Britain's commitment to build a monazite processing plant in Travancore. When this news came to the attention of interim Prime Minister Nehru, he directed the first DG CSIR, Dr. S.S. Bhatnagar, and Chairman Board of Atomic Energy for Research, CSIR, Dr. Bhabha, to negotiate the access of Travancore monazite with sand by the Government of India. In early June 1947, when Bhabha and Bhatnagar visited Travancore, the CSIR announced the constitution of Travancore India Joint Committee on Atomic Energy. It seemed that the ice has melted, and perhaps Sir C.P. was in negotiations with India for negotiating the independence as well as the access to monazite. But soon, on 11 June, the Diwan, Dr. Sir C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer reiterated that Travancore would remain independent of India. Then at that time it annoyed Nehru so much that he considered economic reprisals against Travancore. And in July 1947, the Travancore was in political turmoil, and there was an assassination attempt made on the life of Sir C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer, July 1947. And 5 days after that, the Maharaja of Travancore, he capitulated, and Travancore acceded unconditionally to India. And this is how India finally had access to the monazite-rich sands of Travancore. Now this Travancore's clandestine effort to export monazite, that gave a unique opportunity to Dr. Bhabha, who later made a statement that the development of atomic energy should be entrusted to a very small and high power body composed of say 3 people with executive power and answerable directly to the Prime Minister without any intervening link. And this resulted in the replacement of the Board for Atomic Energy Research with a 3-man Atomic Energy Committee and the creation of Indian Atomic Energy Commission on 10th August 1948. The same year, the Rare Metal Survey Unit, which was under GSI, which was created by Dr. D.N. Wadia, it was placed under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Scientific Research, and on the insistence of Dr. Bhabha on 29 July 1949, this RMSU was brought under the Indian Atomic Energy Commission. And this is how AMD was created. AMD celebrates its foundation day on 29 July 1949, and because of this, it is the oldest unit of DAE. So this is the Government of India notification on Constitution of Atomic Energy Commission of 10th August 1948. One of the mandates given to it was to survey the territories of the Indian Dominion for the location of useful minerals in connection with atomic energy. In 1949, Dr. D.N. Wadia was appointed leader of the first task force for exploration of atomic minerals. In 1953, 58 and 98, the renaming of RMSU ensued. First it was named as Raw Materials Division, then as Atomic Minerals Division. That's how it acquired the acronym of AMD. And on the Golden Jubilee year in 98, Atomic Minerals Directorate for Exploration and Research was created, retaining the acronym of AMD. Here you can see Dr. Wadia with the RMSU task force, and Dr. Wadia with one of our former directors, Sri K. Kedar. Then coming to the exploration for atomic minerals, the first report of uranium is documented in the records of GSI. In 1913, gamite and a 36-pound uranianite nodule was located in a pegmatite rock in Gaya district, Bihar. And in 1949, the first extensive surveys for uranium began in the Singhbhum area of Bihar, now Jharkhand. A joint team of 18 geologists from the Atomic Energy Commission, the GSI and the Damodar Valley Corporation, they worked under the leadership of V.R. Khetkar from GSI. 1951, the first discovery of uranium deposit in India, that is in Jadugoda, Bihar, was made. And by December 1951, the drilling operations commenced in Singhbhum. It was initially contracted to London, the British company, Associated Drilling and Supply Company, London. And in December 1953, the Indian Bureau of Mines was also contracted for drilling the uranium deposits in Singhbhum area. And by 1945, the departmental drilling was initiated with Larsen and Toubro rigs. This is the first report, cover page of the first report on uranium anomalies in Singhbhum province during 1951-52, published by Mr. Khetkar and his party. In 1955, we had the first airborne radiometric survey in Rajasthan. So ladies and gentlemen, you can realize that AMD is the pioneering organization which commenced first airborne surveys in the country. Not to mention, I would be failing in my duty if I don't mention the fatal air crashes of 1960 and 1977. In the first air crash, we lost our director, Dr. P.K. Ghosh. He was flying when the aircraft was being tested for this survey. It crashed somewhere near Chakrata in Dehradun. And on 4th April 1977, we lost 5 officers of AMD during another air crash during this radiometric survey in Andhra Pradesh. By 1956, the discovery of Umra deposit in Rajasthan was also completed, and exploratory mining began in Jadugoda and Umra deposits, the first 2 deposits proved by AMD. And the uranium ore from Umra was processed at the Atomic Energy Establishment, Trombay, which became the first major milestone of raw material supply by AMD for the nuclear power program of India. Here you can see the drilling in Singhbhum during the 50s and the exploratory mining in Umra in 1957. Now this is from the AMD archives. You can see the signatures of Dr. D.N. Wadia and Dr. Bhabha here. There's a remark by Dr. Bhabha dated 11th March 1954 on the noting of Dr. D.N. Wadia, which basically is related to the approval of grant of mining lease for Jadugoda uranium deposit. Dr. Bhabha remarks that we may request the state government of Bihar to expedite the approval of grant of mining lease for Jadugoda uranium deposit and issue reminders at regular interval. The uranium requirement for Cyrus reactor was met from the treatment of ore from Bhunas pegmatite and Umra in Rajasthan. And during 1950s, the exploration for rare metals like niobium, tantalum, lithium and beryllium was initiated in several pegmatite belts of Bihar, Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh. And in that decade, you will be surprised to know that India exported over 15,000 tons of beryl to USA and Japan as a barter for rice. The creation of B-Sand Mineral Investigation Group was also done during this decade to augment monazite and other heavy mineral resources. In 1953, Dr. Bhabha approved a proposal for stockpiling the columbite tantalite minerals for indigenous use on the recommendations of Sri N.V. Prasad and Dr. H.N. Setna. Again, this is from AMD archives. You have approval of press note by Dr. Homi Bhabha dated 20th February 1957. Here, the proposals by Dr. N.V. Prasad and Dr. H.N. Setna are worth noting. Dr. N.V. Prasad writes that because of more or less consistent association of uranium with these minerals, that is columbite and tantalite, and also no special payment for these minerals is made, white press note dated July 9, 1955, the present policy may be continued. It is likely that the demand for these minerals will develop in the country in the next few years with the growth of alloy steel industry. So this was the foresight of those leaders at that time. And Dr. Sedna agreed with the proposal. He said, I agree with Mr. Prasad. These minerals will be needed with the growth of alloy steel industry. Tantalum is especially useful in the chemical industry where highly corrosive chemicals are handled. In 1953-54, the discovery of uranium anomaly at Rohil, Rajasthan was done. However, it took more than 50-60 years after that the Rohil deposit was discovered. So such are the uncertainties in geological exploration. Another archival letter we have from 1959 where Bhabha's keen interest in the development of cheaper indigenous instrumentation for radiation survey and electronic equipment for airborne surveys is documented in his letter to Dr. A.S. Rao, the founder of ECIL. By 1962-63, the exploratory mining in Bhatin and Narwa Pahad uranium deposits of Singhbhum in Bihar also commenced, and the discovery of xenotime-rich placer at Kunkuri in Madhya Pradesh, which is giving us the heavier rare earths which are associated with this mineral, xenotime. We are recovering this now through a pilot plant in Kunkuri. That was done way back in 1971 and it's still operational. In 1972, the discovery of one of the richest deposits of BSM at Chhatrapur in Odisha and Nikara Kayarkulam in Kerala was done. So this was the time when the Conrad bunker drilling was employed in BSM exploration in the early 70s. It was a kind of manual drilling which could drill up to a depth of say 8 meters. Then subsequently in the decade of 70s and 80s, some of the major discoveries at Bodal and Jajawal in MP. In 74, the AMD headquarters was shifted from New Delhi to Hyderabad. Then the discovery of lithium-bearing pegmatite at Marlagala in Karnataka was way back in 1979, but its real potential was discovered only in late 90s and 2000s. Then the setting up of calibration pads at Nagpur Airport, which is a national facility which is being utilized by GSI also, was done in 1983. The discovery of one of the richest grade uranium deposits in Meghalaya, Domia Siat, in 1984, followed by discovery of the largest uranium deposit till date in India, Tumulapalli, in 1986. In 1989, AMD joined the 9th Indian Antarctic expedition. In 1991, we had the discovery of the first unconformity type deposit at Lambapur in Andhra Pradesh, followed by 94 discovery of uranium deposit at Wakin, Meghalaya. And it is really unfortunate that as of today, we are not working in Telangana and Meghalaya, which host one of the best grade and highest tonnage deposits in the country. In 1997, we discovered the deposit in Gogi, Karnataka, which is now presently under exploratory mining by UCIL. Then in 2001 came the discovery of the largest BSM deposit in the country, the Brahmagiri deposit in Odisha. And in 2010, the first OCS batch of BRC Training School AMD campus Hyderabad started functioning. Exploratory mining in Rohil deposit began in 2016. In 2019, one of the technology for arsenic removal filter for domestic water purification developed by AMD was transferred to private firms. In the same year, we had the visit of the Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Venkaiah Naidu, to AMD Hyderabad. And in 2021, AMD discovered one of the biggest deposits of REs in Ambadogar in Gujarat and in Bhatikeda, Rajasthan. And in 2022, there was a benchmark drilling of more than 4 lakh meter in annual program 21-22, which is yet to be equaled by any other agency in the country. And in 23, uranium oxide resource crosses 4 lakh tons. And the first time that patent was granted for the work done by AMD for development of filter for removing toxic metal contaminants from aqueous systems. These are some of the reminiscences from the archives. You can see a remote camp in the Himalayas. Then this is Dr. Udas with the team members surveying somewhere in Himachal Pradesh. This is a former director, Dr. Shri K. Kedar. This is one of the first indigenously developed radiometric system on board fixed-wing aircraft for carrying out the airborne radiometric survey. And this is another camp somewhere in the Andaman Islands in early 70s. Now this is the leadership through the journey, starting from Dr. Wadia and continuing the legacy. Mr. Saravanan is here today with us. AMD expresses sincere gratitude and acknowledges the remarkable legacy of the visionary leaders who steered the directorate through ebbs and tides of challenges and hard-earned success in augmentation of atomic minerals. We are really thankful to our predecessors. To conclude, I'll conclude with a quote by T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. This is what signifies the work of a geoscientist, literally as well as metaphysically. During the hunt for a mineral deposit, maybe it's a gold deposit or a uranium deposit, a geologist or geoscientist will climb many hills, swim across many rivers, treat many forests, not really knowing where he will end up, what he will discover, because at the time when he starts roaming around the hills and wild country, there is a concept built up in his mind. And to turn that concept into a reality needs much more of thinking than experimenting and assessing the results and all that. So ultimately when he discovered, but he has the conviction that although the time may elapse, he will definitely end up with a deposit. And once he finally uncovers the concealed deposit, he comes to realize that this is the first time he has really understood the place, the way how the mineral deposit has formed, how the processes have intertwined and played the various roles in forming this deposit. That is how he realizes that he has come to this place for the first time. So this is how a geoscientist does the exploration. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The motto of AMD, as most of you know, is those who search, find. Now in this 75 years of exploration, after having completed this glorious years of 75 years by AMD, we have a new tagline for AMD, that is innovation through exploration. Thank you so much.
आज हमारे साथ हमारे अग्रज, हमारे परिवार के बड़े, जिन्होंने भी यह सिंहावलोकन देखा तथा सुना है, निश्चित ही अतीत के पन्नों में पहुंच गए हैं। कुछ ऐसे क्षण जरूर होंगे जो आप सबकी यादों में आज फिर से जीवंत हो गए होंगे। धन्यवाद महोदय, इतनी ज्ञानवर्धक प्रस्तुति हेतु। I request Dheeraj Pandey sir to please accompany our guests, Dr. A.K. Mohanty, Dr. Komal Kapoor and Dr. K.K. Dwivedi sir onto the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, let's once again welcome our chief guest, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty, Secretary, Department of Atomic Energy and Chairman, Atomic Energy Commission. Guest of honor, Dr. Komal Kapoor, Chairman and Chief Executive, NFC. Our special guest, Dr. K.K. Dwivedi, former Director, AMD, and our very own Director, AMD, Shri Dheeraj Pandey. धीरज पांडे साहब से अनुरोध है कि आप आज के मुख्य अतिथि महोदय डॉक्टर ए.के. मोहंती सर का अभिनंदन एक पौधा भेंट करके करें। अपर निदेशक प्रचालन 2 डॉक्टर प्रखर कुमार सर से आग्रह है कि महोदय आप विशिष्ट अतिथि डॉक्टर कोमल कपूर सर का अभिनंदन करें। अपर निदेशक अनुसंधान एवं विकास श्री प्रेम कुमार शर्मा जी से अनुरोध है कि आप विशिष्ट अतिथि डॉक्टर के द्विवेदी साहब का स्वागत करें। धन्यवाद महोदय। हमारे कुछ खास आमंत्रित मेहमान भी हमारे साथ इस हॉल में उपस्थित हैं, उनका भी हम स्वागत करना चाहते हैं। सर्वप्रथम मैं अनुरोध करती हूं पुलिन बालू एवं अप तटीय अन्वेषण वर्ग के प्रधान श्री टी.एस. शाह जी सर से कि आप सभा में उपस्थित डॉक्टर एल.पी. सिंह, डिप्टी डायरेक्टर जनरल एंड हेड जियोलॉजिकल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया को सम्मानित करें। श्रीमती मीनाक्षी सुंदरी, प्रधान उपकरणन वर्ग एवं इलेक्ट्रॉनिक आंकड़ा एवं सूचना सुरक्षा ऑडिट सेल से अनुरोध है कि आप श्री बी सर्वनन सर का स्वागत करें। सर आप बीच में आ जाएं तो फोटो बहुत अच्छी आएगी। डॉक्टर चंचल सर्वजना, हेड एमपीजी से आग्रह है कि डॉक्टर सुकांत रॉय, डायरेक्टर बोरहोल जियोफिजिक्स, एनजीआरआई का स्वागत करें। डायरेक्टर टीआईएफआर प्रोफेसर एम कृष्णमूर्ति का स्वागत करने के लिए मैं आमंत्रित करती हूं श्री ए मार्कंडलू, प्रधान भूभौतिकी अन्वेषण वर्ग तथा वायुवाहित सर्वेक्षण एवं सुदूर संवेदन वर्ग से। ये मौका मैं खोना नहीं चाहूंगी। आप सबका भी तालियों से हार्दिक अभिनंदन एवं स्वागत। और जो इंटरनेट के माध्यम से हमारे पूर्व निदेशक, पूर्व एडिशनल डायरेक्टर्स, बहुत सारे सीनियर ऑफिसर्स, फ्रेंड्स, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन जो भी जुड़े हैं, उन सब के लिए भी एक बार तालियां होनी ही चाहिए। A special logo has been designed on the occasion of 75th anniversary of AMD Foundation Day. I request Dr. A.K. Mohanty, Chief Guest of today's function, to officially unveil the logo of AMD designed for its 75th Foundation Day. Dignitaries on stage are requested to please come forward for the same. The logo showcases the commitment of AMD over the last 75 years towards generation of clean and green nuclear energy through the survey and exploration for atomic minerals resources. The helicopter with underslung assembly and hammer represents the airborne and ground survey activities of AMD respectively. The drill string traversing subsurface geological strata to intercept the ore body, symbolized in red color, represents the drilling activities of AMD, which effectively contributes to assessment of uranium and other atomic mineral resources required to run the nuclear power reactors. We have a nuclear reactor in the logo too. Golden color represents great achievements, blue color represents progress, and green leaf represents commitment to clean and green energy. I'll special mention for the art and design of the logo, which is done by Sri Atanu Mukherjee, geologist in AMD Eastern Region, and the credit for tagline Innovation Through Exploration goes to Sri Bittu Kumar Mandal, TOD Drilling Group, AMD Southern Region. Thank you, sirs, for unveiling that. We are really fortunate to have amongst us Dr. K.K. Dwivedi as special guest for this annual day celebration. Before he starts, I will be reading out his biodata. Dr. K.K. Dwivedi is known for his contributions as director of AMD for over 5 years. His work was instrumental in advancing uranium exploration programs, leading to the discovery of uranium mineralization in Gogi, Karnataka, and Wakhin in Meghalaya. Under his guidance, the first volume of the AMD newsletter was published in April 1993. Dr. Dwivedi initiated the practice of generating internal resources by offering analytical facilities and expertise to other government and private agencies on a payment basis. During his tenure, AMD received 2 National Mineral Awards for the discovery and development of Lambapur uranium deposit and mineral beneficiation studies of the Domiaciat uranium deposit. His efforts in promoting R&D activities culminated in the renaming of Atomic Mineral Division to Atomic Minerals Directorate for Exploration and Research during AMD's Golden Jubilee celebrations in 1998. Please, sir, you are invited to address the gathering.
Good morning to all of you. Our chief guest this morning, Dr. A.K. Mahanti, Chairman Atomic Energy Commission and Secretary Department of Atomic Energy, the Chief Executive of NFC, Dr. Komol, Director AMD, Dr. Dheeraj Pandey, former Director Sri Sarbanand, all senior retired officers from AMD and all those in active service in AMD to take AMD ahead of the 75 years and to fulfill the new logo of AMD. To provide the minerals needed for the development of the country. So initially we were more interested in uranium mostly. In fact, in 1959, when I came to AMD for my first interview, there in the interview Dr. P.K. Ghosh, who was then director of AMD, he asked me certain questions regarding metallogenic provinces. And then he asked, I gave the definition. Then he said, no, how do you put India, where do you put India in these metallogenic provinces? I told, according to me, based on the available data so far, AMD is actually India is a thorium province. He said, thorium province. No, gentlemen, we are recruiting you to look for uranium and not thorium. We have enough of thorium now, but thorium may continue simultaneously, but we need uranium for the country. I just said, whatever assignment is given to me, I will follow. Okay, so he said, okay then. There are certain minerals there, you go and identify them and go. They had kept some samples of columbite tantalite, uraninite, beryl. Some minerals were there, so we had to identify those, and that was the interview. After the interview, that batch, nearly 50 people were selected to join AMD. Out of them, 40 of us joined by October 59. Then Mr. A.B. Phadke, who was to follow Mr. Mahadevan as the director, he was the in charge of the northern region. And he came and he said that you are all going to Udaipur. Near Udaipur we are arranging a training camp for the newly recruited geologists. So go and join the camp, take your camp equipment there from the Udaipur office and go. So we joined, 40 of us had a camp at Uday Sagar, and subsequently some other officers on relief from ONGC and other places joined. So ours was a batch of 50 people. Then Mr. Phadke, just before his retirement, he organized a training camp for another fresh batch of geologists. Nearly 20 of them, 20 or 24 of them, I don't remember the exact number. And he said, Dwivedi, you had enough experience of the first training camp. Now this is the training camp, you are going to coordinate this. So there were people like D.K. Sinha and Sandeep Hamilton, others who joined that camp. I think Rahul Banerjee was there in that camp also. So AMD, from the beginning, we give training in geology on a particular work that they are doing. But in addition to that, petrology, mineralogy, mineral beneficiation, mineral extraction, all those. And luckily for me, though I started basically as a structural geologist, doing exploration work for uranium, subsequently I was posted to the Mineral Technology Laboratory, where we did beneficiation and extraction of uranium from ores. In fact, we had done the preliminary work on this Tumlapalli dolostone, where it is difficult to extract uranium because it is concentration low and the uranium minerals are very much interspersed with the matrix, so it becomes difficult to separate them. If they are separated, then leaching becomes easy. Still, we carried out leaching tests on those samples in our Mineral Technology Laboratory of AMD. Samples were sent to Uranium Corporation of India and BRC Chemical Engineering Division. So we had found the uranium content in that up to 80% could be extracted. Extracted in the sense could be leached out of the ore. But in recovery process, they used to lose 10 to 20% of the uranium. The overall recovery used to be in the range of 60 to 70%. So that was taken into account, and based on that, the Turamdi project was taken up. Now, of course, Uranium Corporation has subsequently started mining there. Then again, mining activity is going on in Rajasthan also. But one of my major disappointments was regarding the walk-in project in Northeast Himalayas, Shillong particularly. It's a very difficult terrain where our geologists are treated inches by inches, and that area is highly infested with leech. There are a lot of leech bites and all that. But finally we decided that establish the deposits there. Grade was good as compared to other deposits in India. And we thought that we'll take up the matter with the Meghalaya government and that the work should be taken up there. Then there were a lot of political disturbance in Meghalaya. They were not allowing us to move and so chairman told me that you take a group of these people to different DAE establishments, take them around, show them what we are doing, starting from your tents to the uranium extraction deposit, take them finally to UCIL and tell that if this deposit comes up, it will be producing much more than Jadugoda is producing. And we did that. We talked to them. Chairman came there to Shillong. He gave a lecture to those people there. And they were convinced and they decided to come to Hyderabad, to Bombay. So we took them initially to Bombay, then to all the projects, including Turamdi. When they saw Turamdi, they were quite happy. In fact, the students, Jharkhand, what is that? Northeast Students Union, they were not wanting to give this, but they were also convinced. So it was decided, we wrote a letter to the Uranium Corporation of India to take up that work. Uranium Corporation was very happy. In one of the board meetings of the Uranium Corporation, when we were discussing these things, a strong, brake was applied by the then Additional Secretary of DAE, who said, no, this is very near the Bangladesh border, and it is, how are you going with that? We want uranium extraction with zero loss, zero uranium going to Bangladesh. I told, we'll do that, we'll try to, yeah, there are processes. Now, how are you going to do that? I explained to them. Then chairman said that you take them into the field areas. So we set up a demonstration unit of heap leaching at that place. And we showed them how uranium can be extracted from them, how it will be contained, the design of the dam, it will be slightly different. But whatever it is, we will see that no acidic water or no uranium goes to Bangladesh. So it was almost agreed. But somehow, after that also, after that visit, again we had a chairman says that we would have agreed. But since our this administrative office, additional secretary is having strong reservation, we can wait for some time. And we are waiting till from that till today. So I was really disappointed that time. And Hamilton was there in that area. He must have been disappointed also that that deposit has not yet come up to extraction stage. Like that at different places, I told that at 10 times the uranium ore, niobium tantalum ore cost was available to India at 10 times the cost. But we designed movable ship jigs or fixed ship jigs, fixed them in laboratory in Delhi, tested them, and then established them in Bihar, Hazaribagh now, Hazaribagh district, and showed that columbite tantalite can be used. Once we took out some columbite tantalite and sent the first consignment to NFC, they required 15 tons. By that time, I already had more than 15 tons, so we sent it to them. So working in the continuation of that area downstream further, we got monazite and genotime. Genotime was available in plenty in the river sands and also in the floodplains. So that also we showed them, and we also established the recovery units there in the field areas. Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, they had very strong reservations. The chairman of the board talked to me. He said, no, you are going on doing this. You will have to take a clearance from us. I told him, very welcome. Whatever conduct, those forms we filled up, send it to them. And he came and visited the walk-in area. And then chairman also came and chairman visited those areas. But still it has not seen the light of the day. Maybe it will come sooner or later to the production stage and we will start producing more than that. Then byproduct recovery of uranium from the copper tailings in Singhbhum by gravity concentration and then subsequently by leaching. We had carried out joint tests along with UCIL. I had gone on particularly camp in UCIL camp area for nearly 2 months with 2 of my officers, and we showed them that extraction can be done at a reasonable cost, and some byproduct recovery can be got from there. Similarly, when we started bacterial leaching work in the laboratory, we carried out field tests. We showed to UCIL, then we showed to Hindustan Copper Limited for their copper leaching. Then we had joint tests carried out with Kolar Gold Mines for their gold tailings to recover gold by bacterial leaching of the special culture that we had developed. We had isolated this culture from the samples from Western Ghats and developed in our laboratory by multiple accretion and circulating, recirculating, like that. So there also we showed to them that it can be done. I think now they are also doing some extraction from that. So AMD actually, once you join AMD, work, you will get plenty of opportunity to work in different conditions as a just exploration geologist, geochemist, geophys, whatever it is. So there are many experienced AMD scientists sitting here, and I want to pass on my advice. The AMD, initially, of course, we did not have sufficient vehicles and other support required for the work. We did face a lot of problem But these days there is absolutely no problem coming. All support is coming from DAE, and DAE has understood that AMD has to be brought up, because AMD comes in the first end of the fuel cycle and also in the last end of the fuel cycle. In fact, the selection of site in Rajasthan for the blast, just a minute, selection of sites for blast, then putting a mine shaft there, and in the mine shaft to make the drive where the device will be put and all that. So that work was done by AMD, and AMD also has been a Manugur project, heavy water. I was a member of the site selection committee along with two officers from heavy water projects, and one more officer from AMD. Like that, AMD has plenty of work in different stages of the atomic energy program, and after that in designing of the waste disposal system. That work also is being advised by AMD. So like that, in 75 years, we have done a variety of work, and I am sure as we go ahead, AMD will be doing work to meet the uranium or other strategic mineral requirements of the country. For lithium and all that, we have lepidolite stockpile. We have spodumene from Marlagala, and lot of rare earth minerals in the pegmatites intrusives in Baroda area, Gujarat. And this lithium, of course, GSI has proved in Jammu Kashmir area. AMD had not gone there earlier, but we were mostly concentrated in Rajasthan. Rajasthan we tried to, but we didn't get any mineable ore. And of course, we have not carried out any extraction from lithium minerals, spodumene and all that in our laboratories, which BRC Ore Tracing Division and Chemical Engineering Division, they will be doing. And I am sure all the atomic minerals available will be exploited and suitably used for the country's benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words of experience, guidance, and good wishes. We have our guest of honor, Dr. Komal Kapoor, who is very well-known personality for all of us, and we always look forward to hear from him. Before he starts, I'll be giving a brief biodata before you. Dr. Komal Kapoor serves as the Chief Executive of Nuclear Fuel Complex and Chairman of the NFC Board. An outstanding scientist and a metallurgical engineer, Dr. Kapoor joined the 33rd batch of the BARC Training School, Mumbai in 1989 and has since dedicated over 3 decades to NFC in various capacities. He holds a doctorate in metallurgical engineering and material science from the Indian Institute of Technology, that is IIT Mumbai. Dr. Kapoor has played a pivotal role in the manufacture and supply of a variety of seamless tubes for strategic applications across the departments of atomic energy, space, and defense. His contributions include the production of Incalloy 800 SG tubes for 700 megawatt PHWRs, 9 chromium-1 molybdenum SG tubes for PFBR, and advanced fuel double-clad tubes for LMFBRs and AHWR, among others. His work has led to the highest annual productions of ZR4 fuel tubes and the development of forging routes for ZR4 components. Dr. Kapoor has received numerous honors and awards, including the Young Metallurgist Award from the Ministry of Steel, Government of India, and DAE Excellence Awards in Science and Technology. He has over 100 publications in renowned national and international journals and symposia, and has co-authored several technical documents of the International Atomic Energy Agency. He is a life member of the Indian Nuclear Society, Indian Society for Non-Destructive Testing, and Indian Institute of Metals. May I please request Dr. Komal Kapoor to come and address on the occasion.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all. Well, at the outset, I must congratulate AMD for this momentous occasion of its so-called 75th Golden Jubilee Formation Day. Well, it's heartening to have our own Chairman of Atomic Energy Commission, Secretary DAE, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty with us as the chief guest of today's eventful day of 75th Formation Day of AMD. I convey my sincere thanks to Dr. Dheeraj Pandey, Director AMD, for inviting me as a guest of honor, and I am privileged to be a part of this historic event. Shri K.K. Dwivedi, who is present on the dais, a forefather of Atomic Minerals Division. We just had a down-the-line memory from his perspective, his days, and various, I would say, directors, associate directors who are present here, many former directors who are present online, various divisions of AMD who are connected through online on this momentous day. Well, AMD's pursuit for excellence has led to noteworthy accomplishments in the field of exploration in the atomic minerals. My association closely is with AMD to be as a council member of the Atomic Minerals Division. Ever since inception of AMD, it has been playing a commendable role in identifying the new sources of uranium, thorium, and other strategic elements through innovative techniques and strategies. The perseverance of AMD has led to the achievements of remarkable milestones by surpassing what is called 4 lakh tons of established uranium oxide to the resources of country. I think we need to give a very great applause to this achievement. Well, I must say that though AMD is, I would say, the exploration agency for this important mineral, it comes to the Uranium Corporation of India, to Nuclear Fuel Complex, and then it gets processed in the form of finished fuel which go into the nuclear reactor. The importance of this indigenous source can be made about by understanding the utilization of uranium which is mined in the country. Presently, NFC is also importing the fuel, that is a uranium ore concentrate, from outside. There is a vast difference in the cost of the two, which is mined indigenously and which is imported from the other countries. But then, the importance of the uranium which is mined from indigenous sources can be made about that it is only the indigenous source which can be processed through what is called closed loop, that is complete processing. And that is what makes it important for us, because in order to go to the next second stage of the program, only the uranium which is explored by UCIL, which is produced by, which is explored by AMD and mined by UCIL, produced by NFC, is getting converted to the fuel which is reprocessed, and that goes into the second stage. The other part which is imported is yet to find a way in which it can be processed and it can be put into the reactor. So the importance of the uranium which is coming from indigenous sources can be made that the DAE's program, that is the 3-stage program, can only come about from the uranium which is coming from the indigenous sources. Well, even though the cost of uranium, which is being mined, which is being used, may be the higher, but it is justified to use this uranium into the closed loop which we are following in the country. Well, AMD has made sustained exploration efforts in augmenting its uranium oxide and rare elements oxide reserves that are vital to cater to the nuclear power program in the country. The Directorate is collaborating with the units of the department towards identifying the serpentine sources for BRC projects, the first ever innovative technology demonstration pilot scale in situ leaching sandstone type uranium deposits, and also AMD is further pursuing that the following whether helium it is possible to get from the indigenized sources. Creation of several advanced analytical facilities to promote the collaborative geological research is also one of the aspects of AMD. Several new projects are envisaged to augment the uranium resources in different geological domains in the country. The exploration and the augmentation of rare metals and the rare earths and the beach sand of heavy mineral resources is also part of AMD's activities. Let me also say that all the minerals which are explored by AMD, they are being processed for the nuclear power program, which includes many other minerals including thorium, including niobium, and many other minerals which are being processed at nuclear fuel complex. The collaborative efforts between the AMD and the ONGC, the Energy Center for the Thrust, have also helped in the uranium exploration from the different sedimentary basins in the country. Likewise, I must mention that the MOU which is entered with CISR and NGRI, which we very frequently discuss during the meetings, has felicitated in carrying out heliborne surveys in an expedited manner. The expansion of the nuclear power program and the self-reliance in the domestic atomic mineral resources will be created by the forward-looking and the state-of-art exploration strategies of this directorate. I must mention that I have been exposed to various technologies which are getting developed in the field of mining, in the field of exploration, and I would say that the recent advances in the exploration by different methods is leading to a very faster pace of establishing the depositories of the atomic minerals by AMD. I am sure that AMD is poised to adapt modern exploration techniques, developments in the instruments and the microanalytical techniques, miniaturization of analytical instruments, and providing real-time sampling guidance. Once again, I congratulate the entire fraternity of AMD for its remarkable and sustainable efforts in contributing the ever-increasing requirements of the department. I am also confident that AMD will achieve the many such laurels in accomplishing the objectives of the department for strengthening the energy security of the country and I assure fullest cooperation of NFC in fulfilling this mandate. Thank you very much.
धन्यवाद सर। क्या बखूबी बताया है कि हम एक्सप्लोर करते हैं यूरेनियम और उसके बाद वो कहाँ और क्या आगे इस्तेमाल होता है। थैंक यू सर। कभी कभी किसी विशेष अवसर को और अधिक यादगार बनाने के लिए हम किताबें प्रकाशित करते हैं। आज AMD के हीरक जयंती समारोह को भी 5 प्रकाशन द्वारा सजाया और संवारा गया है। AMD takes the opportunity to set stage for the release of 5 in-house publications. These are the Diamond Jubilee Souvenir Volume, Atlas of Atomic Minerals from different geological domains of India, Atlas of Heavy Minerals in Placer Deposits of India, and current volumes of 2 in-house technical journals, Parmanu Khanij Smarika Khand 1, Ank 4, or Journal of Exploration and Research for Atomic Minerals, Volume 31. To commemorate the momentous occasion of the 75th anniversary of AMD Foundation Day May I please request the chief guest, Dr. A.K. Mohanty sir, to release these 5 in-house publications. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. The Diamond Jubilee Souvenir Volume. The volume reflects the remarkable contributions by the former directors of AMD who have laid the foundation for the current pool of geoscientists to take up the challenges towards augmentation of atomic mineral resources for the energy security of the nation. The records of past accomplishments compiled as milestones achieved through the epic journey of 75 years are the source of pride, inspiration and spirit that can propel the next generation into excellence and intellectual rigor. The second book is Atlas of Atomic Minerals from Different Geological Domains of India. To mark the celebrations on the 75th anniversary of AMD Foundation Day, the Atlas presents a compilation of 75 photomicrographs of different atomic minerals from diverse geological domains of India. The publication is a befitting tribute to the hard work and dedication of officers and staff of Mineralogy, Petrology, Geochemistry Group of AMD and shall be relevant to young geoscientists as a visual guide for identifying atomic minerals. The third in line is Atlas of Heavy Minerals in Placer Deposits of India. The publication presents a photo documentation of selected beach and inland placer deposits of India and includes field photographs of shoreline placer deposits along the east and west coast of India. The volume will serve as a testament to glorious achievements by the beach sand and offshore investigations groups of India and a guidebook for budding geoscientists engaged in beach sand investigations. Current volumes of 2 in-house technical journal, one in Hindi, निदेशालय की हिंदी तकनीकी पत्रिका परमाणु खनिज स्मारिका खंड 1 अंक 4 जिसमें कुल 16 तकनीकी शोध पत्र शामिल हैं तथा जर्नल ऑफ एक्सप्लोरेशन एंड रिसर्च फॉर एटॉमिक मिनरल्स वॉल्यूम 31 containing 13 research papers by in-house geoscientists. A big round of applause once again. Thank you, sir. इस घड़ी का शायद हम सबको बेसब्री से इंतजार है और हॉल भी खचाखच भरा हुआ है. हमारा टेलीकास्ट बगल के एरिया में भी चल रहा है, वहां भी कुर्सियां अवेलेबल नहीं हैं और वो हैं डॉक्टर अजीत कुमार मोहंती सर से सुनने का मौका. He is a well-known personality and mentioning about his achievements will be like सूरज को दिए दिखाने जैसा. But still, I'll be doing this for our young entrants in the department so that they can be motivated and inspired to do hard work. Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty is a distinguished physicist whose academic journey began with an honors degree in physics from MPC College, Badipada in 1979, followed by a postgraduate degree from Ravenshaw College, Cuttack in the year 1981. In 1983, after completing the 26th batch of BARC training school, he joined the nuclear physics division of BARC. Dr. Mohanty received his doctorate from Mumbai University. Dr. Mohanty has contributed significantly to nuclear physics, conducting research across a wide range of collision energies using the Pelletron Accelerator at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, as well as participating in the Phoenix and CMS experiments at Brookhaven National Laboratory, USA, and CERN, Geneva. Dr. Mohanty has held several honorary positions, including General Secretary and later President of the Indian Physics Association, spokesperson for the India CMS collaboration, Director of the Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics, and Director of BARC. He has been a CERN Scientific Associate twice from 2002 to 2004 and again 2010 and 2011. Among his many accolades, Dr. Mohanty received the Young Physicist Award from the Indian Physical Society in 1988, the Indian National Science Academy Young Scientist Award in 1991, and the Homi Bhabha Science and Technology Award from the Department of Atomic Energy in the year 2001. In 2021, he was conferred the Honorary Doctor of Literature by Utkal University. Please, sir, the stage is all yours.
Good morning to all of you, and congratulations completing this glorious journey of 75 years. Dr. Dheeraj Pandey, Director AMD, Dr. Kamal Kapoor, CNFC, and Dr. KK Dwivedi, former Director of AMD. In fact, he is the real chief guest today, not me. And distinguished personnel in the audience, Dr. L.P. Singh, DDG GSI, Dr. Shrikant Rai, Director BGRL MOES, Sri Sravanan, Professor Krishnamurthy, Director of Hyderabad Center, colleagues of AMD, and ladies and gentlemen. It is very heartening to note that you are completing 75 years, which you call Diamond Jubilee, and at the same time, Department of Atomic Energy is also completing 70 years on 3rd August after 2-3 days. And this is one of the oldest unit, no doubt about that, because it is earlier than Department of Atomic Energy. It was working under the commission, as it is mentioned by Dr. Pandey. And you have taken the name diamond, it is a precious metal, and we have taken the name platinum, which is left. So we will be celebrating Platinum Jubilee. In fact, 70 years being a platinum, probably this we took from the British Queen, late Elizabeth. Her birthday in 2022, 70 years, she called it a Platinum Jubilee birthday. And we follow the British culture, that's why we are following Platinum Jubilee in a couple of days. When I joined the department in 1983, I was 23 years old, and this department, AMD, probably 33 years old that time. And I have grown fully and become old, but the institute is still growing. It is young. And that is the beauty of an institution. As it becomes old, it keeps on growing and growing like a banyan tree, and knowledge expands, and you proliferate in many ways. You started with uranium and thorium. That was the need of the hour. In fact, thorium and uranium, I say these are the holy metals for Department of Atomic Energy. There are many things holy. We say holy books, Bible, or Gita, or holy cow. So similarly, this metal, if you see so many natural elements are there, naturally what you find, uranium, thorium, these are the holy for the Department of Atomic Energy. In fact, physics-wise, if you say thorium, uranium, or even plutonium, they are very beautiful elements. You look not only from fission point of view, but if you look at their physical property, chemical property, these are wonderful. They call physicists' dream, but engineers' nightmare. Because plutonium, for particularly if you see, it has to be produced, transmuted, but after that, any engineering is extremely difficult. Forget about the search, because you have to search uranium. That is why you are sitting on the front end. After you get the uranium, you get into the plutonium, and plutonium is very peculiar. If you see temperature versus its shape, it has 6 allotropes. Little bit temperature, it will just fluctuate in shape. It is not stable. That is called technically alpha, beta, gamma, delta, all phases you will see it. And any engineering you have to do, particularly if you have to welding, you have to raise the temperature, and the shape will change drastically from one to another. So it was an engineer's nightmare. But there was a scientist in Los Alamos, Professor Smith. He said add a little bit 3% of impurities, gallium, for example. And the moment you add a gallium, it becomes very stable in the alpha phase, and you can do the engineering. And this is the knowledge of the metallurgy which was existing as early as 1945. It was existing in many parts other than India. And why I am telling this, recently you have seen that there is a movie going, Robert Oppenheimer, become viral. And this year probably it got more than 8 Oscars, best director, best acting, everything. It depicts what Robert Oppenheimer did in 1945, not the bombing part, much before he did a Trinity experiments, where it showed the power of the atom which has come out. That is called Trinity explosion. And it started a long way. And this movie is all about how the science started, how he became a hero. And the huge, I should say it was misused. But that part if you exclude, the science of atoms, energy being there, and finally leading to the energy production is an art. It is a controlled experiment of an uncontrolled phenomena. And today inside the reactor we are doing that only. We are controlling that uncontrolled experiments and we are getting energy. So that demonstration was not less. That's why it is a Robert Oppenheimer. He was a physicist. But he is not alone. A lot chain of people. He starts from Chicago piles of Fermi. Even mentioned the Nobel Prize of Glenn Seaborg, who got Nobel Prize. He transmuted all transuranic elements, including plutonium. Smith, who told how to do mining, and many. So it is achievements of a lot best brains of the whole world to demonstrate that experiments. And in fact, you see that Glenn Seaborg, he got Nobel Prize for that in 1951. But this experiment was done in 45. So much later, because it was so sacred science, it was not told to anybody. It is classified. That's why Nobel Prize came much later, although it was known earlier. So why I am telling this? That you see such a challenging job, what USA did in that time. We also did something in 1978. Buddha is smiling. We completed 50 years this year. And you know that why I am mentioning that starting from the mining, I was told that Amra was the first place where uranium was extracted. It went to AET, so-called BRC today. It was put in the Cyrus. Plutonium extraction was done. Science was developed. Chemical technology was developed from the scratch. And you made the materials, you make the reactors, and this experiment also was done 1978. So if America has Robert Oppenheimer, I used to say India, Department of Atomic Energy, has many Oppenheimers. And I call them Desi Oppenheimers. And you in AMD, part of this Oppenheimer family, and I feel proud, I also belong to that family. And if you look, 74 onwards, we are in a regime of denial because we did an explosion and we come under the sanctions. We have not got knowledge from anybody. And today, in 98 also repeated, and if you see, nothing comes to the Department of Atomic Energy, let it be from the first element of the first component of mining, survey, what AMD is doing, exploration, let it be mining, what UCL is doing, fuel, what NFC is doing, engineering and R&D, what BRC is doing, and the power sector, what NPCL is doing, reprocessing, what NRB is doing, and later on using it. We are all self-sufficient, and we are self-sufficient since last 50 years. Today we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are Atmanirbhar 50 years back. Probably people have learned from us. And because of the necessity, and it has helped us, we have gone a long way. And today, if you look in the AMD history, it is not uranium, thorium. We have explored all whatever actinides you have to take. We know how to create more actinides by transmutations. You have explored lanthanide series, what you call rare earth, and even rare metals we are calling it, like tantalum, niobium, lithium, so everything. And your motto has been, keep searching and you will get it. And I was asking Dheeraj, how long you will search it? Probably you will search till you don't find it. And that should be your aim in another 25 years, what we call Amritkal. Probably you have to show that roughly I was calculating, you are exploring 1 ton of materials, oxides in the form of oxide, probably every 4 years. So another 8 years you are going to add another 2 lakhs metric tons. So if this rate you go, probably it is a linear rate, but one day I expect your curve should saturate at some point by the time we reach Amritkal. That should be your aim, as far as uranium and thorium is concerned. But this curve will rise as far as other metals is concerned, like lithium, niobium. You do not know how important they are. Uranium is important to us, and we have sufficient uranium. As it is told, our uranium may be more expensive because our grade is not that high. But it is not that. I am told that if you do deep mining, there are possibility of you may get uranium of high grade. But deep mining, you have to explore. That you have to go to deep mining. There are experts in the audience. Deep mining is very difficult because you first have to speculate the area. And if it is much deeper, below 1.5 kilometer and down, signals may not come out. So your remote sensing may not work very well. You have to find new technology. Probably you have to depend on electromagnetic methods and magnetic methods, both in time domain and frequency domain. And that is what we call TDEM. And that technology we have to add more, we have to be more indigenous. And this TDEM instrumentation is being done in Kalpocom. BRC has also developed, and we should push them further. This is the technology which will give you probably new surprises. You have to do like a remote sensing, but remote sensing will multi-spectrum, which you know may not be very useful if it is a deep, if your material is deep rooted. And once you find out those areas, and you have to go very quickly to the new techniques, like use the technique of nuclear physics, what we call prompt fission neutron logging. And it was not long back, but a couple of years back, probably have started. And first, I was told in Jadugoda, the first generator of BRC, DT generator, which gives high energy neutrons, 14 MeV, probably they have demonstrated that it is just a very unique method to pinpoint whether there is a uranium. If there is a uranium-230, there will be uranium-235. And these prompt neutrons, which is created from a generator, which is very compact, can go down, and it can get thermalized, thermal and epithermal, and it can create fission. You will get the prompt neutrons. And that is the unique representation, then there is a uranium. All other will be speculative. This is the definitive. And this technology we should be taking more and more. And data analysis out of that we have to do. In fact, this analysis technique has to improve. Right now people are telling that we have to go to artificial intelligence, machine learning. But you know, for the geologist or physicist like you, these are something new words. It is like old wine in the new bottles. We know this long back. You cannot imagine that what people call today artificial intelligence. It is basically nothing but a set of standard non-statistical tools which physicists and geologists using years back, long back. Neural network. It is a part of the AI today in some variant. But you know, this neural network, or even your principal component analysis, or anything we talk about today, these are tried by physicists long back to discovery physics. Higgs discovery, you know, gold particle, which was discovered in 2013. It is like one sample in billions and billions data you collect, you will get one out of that. And it is a data mining only. And all sorts of statistical analysis, let it be Markov chain analysis, neural net, principal component, or anything we talk about, which is a part of the artificial intelligence today in the modern language. These are all tools scientists have used long back, and you have to use them. And as I said, these are not new to all of this community, and with the help of this, probably your signal data interpretation will be more accurate. And not only uranium, thorium, probably you have to go to the exploring lithium, niobium. As uranium is important to the nuclear industry, niobium is also another material. It is very important to the accelerator industry. Today you see, after reactors, we are talking about accelerators. Accelerator differs subcritical system. That is another form of reactors we are talking about. Well, reactor will be working subcritical, and extra neutrons will come from accelerators. And since there is extra neutrons, you can afford your reactors to run subcritical. And at any moment, you don't want reactor to want to stop, just stop the accelerator. And it is absolutely safe. That's why we are talking about accelerator-driven subcritical system. But to make the accelerator today, one of the important ingredient is niobium, which goes into the superconducting cavities. niobium of high required purity. And I'm very happy to tell that this technology also, you are exploring where is niobium. IIDL is exploring niobium, and NFC knows how to make it reactor or accelerator grade niobium. They have succeeded, and these are the areas we will be working. Lithium, everybody is talking about. We have probably we never tried that hard for lithium. We are not exploring, but AMD has found out a lot of sources. Lithium is there in Karnataka and elsewhere, and we should take it seriously. We may not explore, we may not mine it, but we should know where are the reserves and keep in our custody. Because the lithium is not only the battery which people are talking about. Lithium is another area. It is going to be very, very strategic to the Department of Atomic Energy, because we can breed tritium from lithium. And once you go to the fusion technology, probably we will be going very soon, because ultimate energy for green energy, it has to come from fusion only, again from nucleus, but in the form of fusion. And tritium is the raw material for that, and we need lithium for that also. So we should keeping lithium at our position for the years to come. Today, if you see now, having done so much, what we gain ultimately? Ultimately, it is the time that we have to work for the energy production. It has to be green energy. Nuclear is now, everybody is accepting. It is the only solution if you have to save this planet Earth. You know that the call is given that there is a global warming, and we have to keep the average temperature with the respect to the industrial area at 1.5 degrees centigrade. But if you don't control the way we are living, probably by end of this century, the temperature will be 4 degrees centigrade. All glaciers will melt, all will be full with water, and this planet will not be surviving. That is all known. And even though you know it, controlling this climate, carbon dioxide processes, we have not learned yet. But renewable energy source like solar, wind, all has to come into our rescue, but probably not enough. We have to add sufficiently nuclear into the energy mix. Today our motto has been Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We talk about one earth, one family, and one future. I tell to the people, if you live the way you are living, don't bother for anything, burn coal, probably automatically you will have one family, one earth, and one future. All will be full, the entire planet will be full of water only. So it is one family, and you will not be seeing it. But we have to save it. Then it is time has come that we have to increase our nuclear capacity. Today we are producing 8.8180 precisely megawatt of electricity, and our goal has been to add it to 22, go up to 22, nearly 22 gigawatt by 2032, and we are doing pretty well in these directions. Like Kaiga, recently we had Kakrapara 3 and 4, which PM dedicated to the nation in this year, beginning of this year, because this is 700 megawatt PHWR. All this, whatever you are doing, you are exploring, mining, and making the fuels. Finally, the reactors are coming very well. 700 is a successful story of Indian PHWR program, completely indigenous. And we will be repeating many of them. And if today we have started a success story of power production, all of you are behind this. And without them, it would not have been possible. And more importantly, we are now very close to the second stage, where we will be burning, we are using plutonium with uranium-238. And I am happy to tell you that today onwards, we will be loading the fuel in Bhavini. And we have to load 175 fuel bundles. We are estimating 45 days from now, we will be ending this. And if it goes, everything goes well, hopefully it will go well. After 45 days, by end of September or beginning of October, you will have first approach to criticality in a first breeder reactor for the first time in India. And we will be the second country globally, other than Russia, who will have such a reactors. And why it is so important to all of us? This is now not only producing a very close to the fourth generation reactor, but it will be breeding plutoniums. It will consume less fuel than it will be producing. That is what the breeder reactors. And this is where whatever uranium we have today, it may be available to us in the depleted uranium from PHWR. even whatever sources you have found out till now, I think if we start breeding, probably we will be self-sufficient for years to come as far as our nuclear technology is concerned. Because once you go to the plutonium, you remember 0.7% is only we are using for our energy production. Remaining 97.3% is unused. And if you can breed it, probably with this much resources also, we will have enough fuel to run for years to come. And that is where the second stage is importance. And after we make this 500, we will be going in that series. We will make breeder reactor henceforth and breed plutonium. And after that, we have technology how to breed thorium, from thorium to uranium-233. And we will be, in fact, now we are in the second stage, and probably very soon we will be, parallelly, we will be studying, moving toward the third stage also. And this first stage, second stage, third stage will continue. And I guess by end of this century, fission reactor will be master taking energy from all type of fission reactors. And it is my belief that by then fusion technology also will be coming into the market. And fusion, as you know, it is another important technology where you only know deuterium and tritium. And this is the technology probably the world is moving for years to come. I tell to the people that we are so much talking about solar energy, wind energy, or other form of renewable energy. And solar energy, nothing wrong, wonderful. But then you have the sustainability 24/7, and it cannot take throughout the grid load, but it is needed. But then I tell to the people that solar energy is good, but it is, remember that it is a secondary source of energy. Primary source is still nuclear. Today, for some reason, हम कभी सूर्यदेव को मिल जाए, and we take him as a consultant, and ask our Lord Surya, what type of mechanism we should adopt in the earth to solve our energy problem. Suryadev will reply to you, I am sure, that take energy from me as long as you want, but become Atmanirbhar. Make your own solar sun in the earth itself. And that is the fusion reactor. And I visualize that after a couple of years, probably we will have many mini suns in the earth itself. And that is the day it happens. Probably it is a different type of planet we will be living, and we may not be there to see that. It may be 100 years from now, but that is the planet we are wishing for. And AMD will be contributing a lot, because if you say the lithium, that is the first fuel of a fusion reactor, and that's what wherever there is a lithium, let us keep in our custody. Battery is one thing, let us not worry too much on batteries. That is one aspect. If there is no battery, there are other ways of survive. So this is concerned as far as our mineral is concerned for power sector. Your logo has been green growth, and really you will be contributing to the green. But another sector we are completely ignoring, that is a non-power application of nuclear energy, which is invisible. But then people, very little people know. Health sector, like you are exploring a lanthanide series. Those elements, all if you see, there is an element called lutetium at the end of this lanthanides. It is probably the work of some medical science. Lutetium 176. From the natural, if you have a natural lutetium, this is a component 176. And once you get the lutetium, enrich it to 176 and put into the neutron, it becomes 77. It is a radioactive element used for prostate cancer treatment. And this is the rare earth. Today we are importing, but we know how to mine it. And once you mine, these are the rare components for medical purposes, apart from the industrial applications. These are the life-saving radionuclides, samarium and other such materials. And this is what we are doing and we will be doing. And while AMD will be exploring these rare materials, probably technology has to be developed to enrich them, because there are particular isotopes which you need it. First, they are rare. Within this rare element, there are isotopes which is again rare. And this technology we have developed, laser isotope separations, some department of atomic energy doing. So whatever you explore, whatever you mine, we have a technology to enrich what we want it. And those enriched minerals are again useful for health sectors and many other applications. Niobium and praseodymium, you do not know how important they are today. We all say they are critical minerals. They are magnet makings. like today, EV, electric vehicle we are talking about, but a magnet is the main components because you have to make any motor even, you need the magnets. And these magnets is only, this rare earth materials is today entirely controlled by China because they have everything. And they have started exploring much before where people are not ignoring it. They have acquired all the mines globally because people never thought the rare earth mining that much important. But then we have not given to anybody. We have arrested people, those who are exporting monazite to the other Germany. That's what Dr. Pandey told it. That because we have Bhabha and our so-called predecessors, such a visionary, we preserved all our rare earth in our country. We don't give it to anybody. Because these rare earths, it is again going to the game changer in Indian context. That magnets which popularly everybody use, it is NdFeB, technically if I tell it, niobium, iron and boron. And niobium is the rare earth, which is we are having from beach sand minerals, we are taking it. It may be found in magnetites like Ambardungar, so everywhere. So these are the activities we should be controlling. In fact, we have a setup of magnets, not many people will be knowing. It is cobalt samarium in Vizag. It is a high temperature magnet which can survive. And we are going to set up a magnet for NdFeB also. And raw material will come again from this exploration and mining. And these are the game changer for the futures. So I think I should stop here. And I wish you all the best. And you are doing a great job. You are verticals of Department of Atomic Energy. Without this, a growth will be impossible. Important verticals. And you are at the front edge. You are the first. Like in any puja jipusi, we worship the Ganesh first. So if any success of Department of Atomic Energy, first worship we have to do the AMD. So this is your importance, and we all are proud of it, and wish you all the best. And this journey will not stop. It will only stop when your curve of exploration saturates. And I don't think it will saturate. And this earth, Mother Earth is so much, it will be just impossible fully explore. So since it cannot be done, your activity will continue as long as this planet exists, unless global warming takes over it. Thank you very much.
तालियों की गड़गड़ाहट और स्टैंडिंग ओवेशन अपने आप में बता रहा है सर ने क्या खूब बताया है. थैंक यू सर फॉर योर वेरी मोटिवेशनल एड्रेस. आत्मनिर्भरता ऑफ DAE, वर्ड्स ऑफ विजडम, एंड सर्टेनली वी विल बी वर्किंग हार्ड टू अचीव हायर गोल्स अहेड. लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, आज के समारोह के अगले पड़ाव पर जाने से पहले हम विदा लेना चाहेंगे हमारे इंटरनेट के माध्यम से जुड़े साथियों से. हमसे जुड़ने का तथा इस अवसर पर हमारा साथ देने के लिए उन सबका हृदय से धन्यवाद.